It was a quiet afternoon in the middle of a dense green forest. The road that passed through it was narrow, surrounded by tall trees whose branches leaned over like giant hands trying to touch the ground. The air smelled of wet soil, and sunlight came through the leaves in broken golden lines. A man was driving his car slowly through this road, enjoying the peace. He loved nature, and often took this route whenever he wanted to feel close to wildlife. But that day, something unusual caught his eye. About 50 meters ahead, right in the middle of the road, something was lying still. At first, it looked like a fallen log or a rock. But as the car got closer, his heart started beating faster. It wasn't a rock. It was an animal. He stopped the car immediately, his eyes fixed on the sight in front of him. There, lying on the hot road, was a leopard. Its beautiful golden coat with black rosettes shimmered faintly under the sunlight. But something was wrong. The leopard wasn't moving much, only lifting its head slightly as if trying to breathe. The man's first thought was fear. Could it be dead? Or maybe injured? He looked around carefully. The forest was quiet, only the sound of cicadas filled the air. He slowly stepped out of his car, keeping a safe distance. The leopard opened its eyes weakly. Its eyes were half closed, filled with pain and exhaustion, and then the man saw it. On the leopard's right shoulder there was a large swelling. It was an abscess, badly infected, red and oozing slightly. The man's heart broke at the sight. This majestic creature, once a powerful hunter of the forest, was now lying helpless on a road, fighting pain. He whispered softly, almost as if talking to the animal. "It's okay. I won't hurt you." The leopard moved slightly, groaning in pain. The man quickly realized the animal needed help, fast. But he knew he couldn't go closer. It was still a wild leopard, dangerous if frightened or cornered. He took a deep breath and quickly reached for his phone. His hands trembled slightly as he dialed the forest ranger office. "Hello," he said, trying to keep his voice calm. "There's a leopard lying on the forest road near the eastern bend. It's injured. I think it has an infection. Please come fast." The ranger on the other side immediately responded, "Stay in your car, sir. Do not approach the animal. We're sending a rescue team right now." The man nodded and returned to his car, but kept watching the leopard through the open window. Minutes felt like hours. The leopard would lift its head, groan softly, then rest again. Occasionally it tried to move but couldn't. Every small movement made it cry out in pain. The man's eyes filled with tears. He whispered, "Hang in there, buddy. Help is coming." He couldn't stop thinking about how hard life must be for animals in the wild. No doctors, no medicine, just strength and survival. Yet here was one, broken and vulnerable. After what felt like forever, he heard the faint sound of a vehicle approaching. Soon, a green truck appeared from the curve. It was the forest rescue team. 4 rangers stepped out quickly, carrying tranquilizer equipment, ropes, and a large cage. One of them nodded to the man. "You did the right thing calling us," he said. They moved cautiously toward the leopard. The animal noticed them, growled weakly, and tried to get up but fell back in pain. The ranger whispered, "It's okay, big boy. We're here to help." They prepared a tranquilizer dart and fired gently into the leopard's leg. Within a few minutes, the animal's body relaxed. Its breathing became steady but calm. The man watched from a distance, his heart racing. The rangers approached carefully, checked the animal's pulse, and looked at the abscess. "It's a bad infection," one ranger said. "If we hadn't come soon, he might not have survived the night." They gently placed a blanket over the leopard and then lifted it carefully onto a stretcher. The man instinctively walked closer, keeping quiet. Seeing the once mighty predator lying helpless under human care filled him with deep respect. As they loaded the leopard into the rescue truck, the man felt a mix of sadness and relief. Sadness, because he had witnessed the suffering of a beautiful creature. Relief, because help had arrived in time. He asked the ranger softly, "Will he survive?" The ranger nodded slowly. "We'll take him to the wildlife hospital. They'll drain the abscess and treat the infection. Leopards are strong. If he's lucky, he'll recover soon." The man smiled faintly. "Thank you," he said. Before they drove away, he looked once more at the leopard through the cage bars. Even in its half-sleep, the animal looked peaceful, as if it finally trusted that it was safe. The rangers drove off toward the hospital. their vehicle disappearing into the winding forest road. The man stood there for a few moments, listening to the fading engine sound. The forest seemed to breathe again. Birds started singing. The wind whispered softly through the trees. The man took a deep breath and felt something shift inside him, a strange connection with that leopard. He got back into his car, started the engine but didn't leave immediately. He looked once more at the empty road where moments ago a life had lain helpless. He whispered quietly, "I hope you make it, my friend." As he drove away, his mind was full of thoughts. How fragile life could be, and how a simple act of kindness could make a difference. That night he couldn't sleep. The image of the leopard's eyes kept flashing in his mind, those eyes that held both pain and trust. He wondered how the animal was doing. The next morning he decided to visit the wildlife hospital to find out. He wanted to see if the leopard had survived, and that's where the next part of this story begins. The journey of healing, the bond between man and beast, and the moment that no one could have imagined that something terrible and yet deeply moving that would happen next. The morning sun was rising slowly above the trees, spreading soft orange light through the mist that hung over the forest. The man drove quietly toward the wildlife hospital, his thoughts still heavy with worry. He didn't know what he would find there, but his heart told him he needed to see that leopard again. The small hospital was located on the edge of the forest, a simple building surrounded by cages, treatment sheds, and the sounds of animals in care. When he parked his car and stepped out, the air smelled of medicine and damp leaves. He walked to the reception counter where a ranger recognized him immediately. "You're the one who found the leopard, right?" The ranger asked with a smile. Yes, the man nodded quickly. "How is he? Did he survive the night?" The ranger's face softened. "He did, but he's still very weak." The abscess was deep and infected. "The vets are cleaning it again today. You can watch from outside the treatment room." The man followed the ranger to a large room with glass walls. Inside, 2 veterinarians and 3 assistants worked around the tranquilized leopard. The animal lay on a steel table, breathing slowly. Its massive body looked smaller now, fragile under the harsh white light. The man pressed his hand against the glass, silently watching. One of the vets carefully examined the swollen shoulder. The abscess had been cut open. A thick fluid drained slowly into a metal tray. The smell was sharp and sour, but the vet's hands moved calmly. They cleaned the wound again and again, washing it with antiseptic and gently removing dead tissue. "She must have got injured in a fight," the ranger explained softly beside him. "Maybe from another leopard or while hunting." The wound got infected, and the abscess formed. Without treatment, it could have killed her. The man listened silently, feeling a lump rise in his throat. Even in this weak state, the leopard looked powerful. Muscles strong under her golden coat, her paws large and perfect. Nature's masterpiece, brought low by pain. After the treatment, they injected antibiotics and fluids. The leopard's body twitched slightly, then relaxed. The vet nodded with satisfaction. "She'll need at least 2 weeks of rest. If she responds well, we can release her back to the forest." 2 weeks. The man decided he would visit again. Days passed. Each morning he drove through the same forest road, the same one where he had found her, and went to the hospital. Sometimes he would bring fresh meat, sometimes just sit quietly near the cage. The leopard was still weak but improving. Her golden eyes now followed him when he arrived. At first she would growl softly, then stare. But as the days passed, that growl turned into calm silence. She seemed to recognize him, the human who had stopped his car and saved her life. One afternoon, while the vet changed her bandages, the man noticed something that made his heart race. The leopard lifted her head slightly and looked straight at him. Their eyes met. For a long moment it felt as if time stopped. The animal's gaze was deep, not wild, not angry, but filled with something else. A strange calm, a quiet understanding, the man whispered almost without realizing. "You'll be okay now." The ranger nearby smiled. "You've made a friend," he said jokingly. But the man knew it was something more than that. He had seen fear in animals before, but this was not fear. This was trust. Over the next week, the wound healed beautifully. The swelling was gone and new fur began to grow. The leopard's strength returned. She would now stand, stretch, and even growl when the staff approached. "She's ready," said the vet one morning. "We'll take her back to the forest tomorrow." The man's heart lifted, but also a strange sadness filled him. He knew it was time to say goodbye. The next day, the team prepared a large transport cage and loaded it onto their truck. The man was invited to come along. After all, he was the one who had found her first. The journey through the forest was silent except for the soft rumble of the truck. The leopard lay calmly in the cage, her eyes looking through the bars at the trees passing by. After about an hour, they reached the same road, the same place where the man had found her lying helpless. But now everything was different. The truck stopped near a small clearing deep in the forest, far from villages or roads. The rangers unloaded the cage and placed it on the ground. The forest was alive, birds singing, monkeys calling, leaves rustling in the wind. The air smelled of freedom. The man stood quietly watching as the ranger unlocked the cage door. For a few seconds nothing happened. Then slowly the leopard took one cautious step forward. Her muscles moved under her coat, powerful again. She looked around, the trees, the sunlight, the open world. And then she looked back, her eyes met the man's once more, that same look, that same calm, that same unspoken thank you. It was a moment no camera could capture fully, no words could describe. A silent conversation between two living beings, one who had once saved, and one who had been saved. The man whispered again, his voice trembling. "Go home." The leopard blinked slowly, then walked out of the cage. She moved gracefully, her paws soundless on the forest floor. After a few steps, she stopped and looked back one last time. Then, with a quiet leap, she disappeared into the green shadows. For a long moment, everyone stood still. The forest seemed to hold its breath. Then the ranger said softly, "She's gone. Back where she belongs." The man nodded, but his eyes were wet. He turned to look at the road, remembering how he had first seen her lying there, broken and helpless. And now she was walking strong again, wild and free. But just as they were about to leave, something unexpected happened. From the thick trees, a loud growl echoed. Everyone froze. Out of the shadows, another leopard appeared, slightly larger, its coat darker. It walked cautiously toward the place where the rescued leopard had disappeared. The ranger raised his hand. "Stay still," he whispered. "Don't move." The new leopard sniffed the ground, then looked around. A deep rumbling sound came from its throat, not a threat but a call. Moments later, from somewhere deeper in the forest, came a soft, answering growl. The man's heart jumped. "It's her," he whispered. The two calls met in the air, echoing like a conversation between souls. Then the larger leopard turned and walked in the direction of the sound, vanishing into the forest. The ranger smiled. "Maybe that's her mate. Looks like she wasn't alone after all." The man stood frozen, a gentle smile forming on his face. "Maybe that's why she fought so hard to live," he said quietly. The rangers packed up their equipment, but the man stayed for a moment longer. He looked into the forest, the place where two leopards now walked together, hidden from the world. The sunlight broke through the canopy, touching the leaves with golden light. Everything seemed peaceful again. As the man turned to leave, he felt something change within him, a deep sense of respect and humility. He had helped save a life, but in a strange way, that life had changed his own. Driving back down the same road, he noticed how everything looked different now. The forest didn't feel just like a place of trees and animals. It felt alive, aware, full of silent stories. He rolled down his window, letting the forest wind brush against his face. In his heart, he knew that somewhere in those trees a leopard was walking again, healed, free and wild. And maybe sometimes when he would pass that road again, she might remember him too, because between man and beast, there are no words, only moments. Moments that remind us that kindness is the strongest language of all.